Rod and I are back here after the 49ers season was ended by the Seattle Seahawks in brutal fashion, by the way. You know, they could have been a little nicer instead of boat racing us as hard as they did. That was not fun to watch from our perspective. But I imagine lots of stuff that Kyle and John Lynch have on tape there to study for the offseason. But Rod, let's get to it. We'll talk about the game here, but I'm interested in your perspective, being that somebody asked me this today. What are the worst 49er losses that you have experienced? And we've been saying this all season long, which is, A, we didn't think that this team was necessarily a Super Bowl caliber team in the same way of previous Super Bowl caliber teams, but they just overachieved and they hung in there and they played their hearts out. And, you know, they have a roster that doesn't really stack up against some of these other playoff teams. And here they were in the divisional round. And I think just everything kind of came to, the worst possible conclusion tonight in Seattle. But was this a bad one for you? Was this one like not that big of a deal? Like, how were you feeling as this game was going on and the score was just getting worse and worse and worse?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because I started thinking along those lines, and I didn't feel any. And I don't know if it's age or jadedness or
Hmm.
what it is, but this didn't feel nearly as bad as the 49-3 versus the Giants, and
Yes.
Montana gets knocked out, and that was and again, I was like 14 at the time, so I was still in the midst of when they would lose on Sunday, I'd be feeling it until like Wednesday. I like lived and died with it, and I have a bit more perspective now at this age, but I don't know. I guess I've kind of just felt all along that we've been playing on kind of playing with the house's money, and that this shoe was ultimately going to drop. And again, I thought they were going. I'm honest when I say I thought it was going to end last week. So I was. I think as we discussed in last week's show that I didn't think they were going to win this week, but I hope I'm wrong, like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I was last week. But yeah, it became pretty clear pretty quickly that if it wasn't clear after that week 18 game, that this team was just way better than us. And once you know in that stadium, in that environment, once it starts rolling against you, it's one of those things that it's like at the beginning of the fourth quarter, I'm like and that was before they scored that final touchdown. I'm like, well, we still have a chance. The only thing is we'd have to score more in this quarter than we have in the previous 11 quarters in order to win this game. So the odds probably aren't with us. But yeah, it was more of a gallows humor over here than any kind of um like real disappointment. I am firmly in the place where I'm proud of those dudes, and I think they
Yeah.
had a great season, and I'm looking at it more glass half full than glass half empty. It was going to come to an end at some point, and I wish it would have been a more competitive game than it was, but you know them's break sometimes.
Yeah. The thing that, you always have to kind of caveat this season, and it's something that I've been, just in other places outside of this podcast, I've been like, look, show me another team who can lose an all pro like Nick Bosa, an all pro like Fred Warner, an all pro like George Kittle, your number one wide receiver, and those are players. Another team that could lose all four of those players and still go out and win the Super Bowl. It's just not. It's not easy to do. Take after take three guys off of Seattle's defensive starting 11, and then also take away JSN. Like they're just a completely different team. Like just you're talking about having to mix and match with the roster and such, and that's just going to be like an insurmountable kind of thing. So when you look at it from that perspective, which I think rational people do, though, looking at some stuff on Twitter, and there was not rational people go. I was seeing a lot of frustration about Kyle. I'm like, guys, Kyle could have called the game of his life, and they would have still lost by 20 points. Like there's nothing there. I would have loved to see, and you can't erase time or you can't take away things, but I would have loved to see them start off on defense the way that they wanted and fight and fight and fight. But then when you give up a kickoff return for a touchdown to start the game, it changes the entire way that they would have needed to play this game, the way that they would have won this game. And we're talking about, they play 10 times. Seattle's probably winning 7 or 8 of these things. But the one way the Niners could have won is you start the game even, then you score, and you play keep away, and you play like you make this game long, and this is like a 10-7 game all the way into the fourth quarter. But when you give up a kickoff return for a touchdown, immediately it changes the strategy of the way that they needed to play to win this game. So right off of the gate, you're just like, okay, this thing is already getting away from us if you kind of understood the style of football in which they needed to play today.
Yeah, it really was. That is very well said. It just it was like what happened was like the opposite of what we needed to have happen for this to go our way. It just, it just kind of snowballed way too quickly for us to and then, in an environment like that where it just gets so raucous.
Mhm.
The energy was just it was just too much.
Yeah, so the other thing that I wanted to see out of this game, and it's something that I think we've both been thinking about, especially just from the overall league perspective, who's a Super Bowl contender? I was not convinced that Bo Nix was going to be able to make the plays to beat the Bills. And I didn't watch the whole game. I have it on my DVR. I didn't really like that interception very much. I think that was an interesting play, and it kind of changed the whole game there. But then Bo Nix gets hurt and he's out for the AFC title game, and Jarrett Stidham is now QB1, and so that just changes everything about what Denver can do. But there's so many questions about every single team. Seattle probably has the least questions because they're so good defensively. The only thing you're wondering about is Sam Darnold, and I don't think we got any answers today because he didn't have to do anything. One of my friends in my one of my other discords, he's a Seahawks fan, and he was like, if I was the coach, I would take Darnold out. And I was like, I don't think Darnold had to make a throw in the whole second half. Like, what are you worried about? He's handing the
Yeah.
ball off. Like, they don't have to pass. But I mean, I understood what he was talking about. I was having fun with him. That question has not been answered, I think, if you're a Seahawks fan. And I hope that it gets answered next week, right? Like you would hope. And I'm saying that I hope the Rams win the game for that very reason. Like I have no love for the Rams. I have no love for the Seahawks. Of course, the Seahawks specifically have been a pain in our rear, though the Rams have beat us in the NFC title game more recently. I just want to see, I want some answers for us as we go into next year about what we can do, how we measure up. Like this is what we do on Thompson to Clark with Brad and I. We study the Dodgers, not quite as closely as we study the Giants, but in order to know enough about our team and what we can do, you have to look at what the best team in front of you is doing. So that's what I want to see. I want to see the Seahawks and the Rams in the NFC title game. I want to see, who we're going to have to be as good as next year in order for the Niners to get back to where they want to be. But I also want to see if Darnold is the guy. Can he make the big throws in the big game? I mean, he didn't have to do anything today, so there wasn't anything really positively or negatively about him. But I would love to see for my own eyes, like, is Sam Darnold, can he do this thing, when it counts?
Yeah, that is 100%. I'm looking at it from that point of view is like how far are we really moving forward? I'm sure we'll talk about it. There's very little to talk
About this game, yeah.
about this game. So I think we will be quickly pivoting to next year, and that is gonna be interesting to hear what you think. Some of the things that we will need to um, remain competitive amongst the our NFC West foes. Because I don't know if how you look at it, but I have grown to see that it's important to build your team to win the division because that's obviously the grand goal is to win the championship, but I think the first step to doing that is winning the division. So you have to be looking at your competition there to see where you need to grow and get better. So yeah, that would be. I am not shortchanging the Bears because they look like they've got something special going on this season, and Caleb is kind of growing into what um I guess they would have hoped he would be. But yeah, I'm expecting the Rams to win that game.
If people listen to this show last week, I hope they paid attention to what you were saying about some of the people in the secondary, and I'll give you some props here because you were talking about Siegel and saying how very clearly, very athletic, very aggressive, he's going to come up and hit. But if you watch him in the passing game, he's not good. And that man proved you right tonight. Something fierce. There was a moment where so they finally make a play. The defense finally makes a play, and it's like 2nd and 20 or something. And I think Siegel's actually the one who made the play. Or it may have been Mustafa. I don't remember. But soon thereafter, like I saw Siegel not in the right spot, and he had this look on his face, and he was just like, it was kind of, we overuse this term, the deer in headlights, but it was very clearly the deer in headlights. Like, I'm not exactly sure what I was supposed to do there. And then on their touchdown play where Darnold was moving, and then he floated the ball. I think it was the Luter play. I think Renardo Green had gotten yanked. Luter's in the game, and Luter's chasing my man all the way down the field. And see, Tom Brady even pointed it out. He said Siegel was in no man's land. He had to make a choice. Which is, you're either going to attack or you're going to stay back and help. And he did neither. He stood in the middle, and he had that same look on his face. And I was like, oh man, I mean, he's a young kid. This is a big game for him. I get all of that. But this is the stuff that you were talking about last week with this young secondary. And, Sam Darnold didn't really have to throw except when there was when it was 3rd down, and then he did have to throw, and the Niners didn't really put up a fight in any way. And so I hope people were listening to you last week as you were explaining what one of your big fears was for today.
Yeah, and I was having that conversation today with fans, and it's not like I'm rooting for this team to win, although sometimes it might seem like I'm not. It's just that I'm just pointing out what I've seen. It's not like there wasn't a reason that Siegel had not been out there playing. It's not like they forgot that he was athletic and aggressive and can come downhill and play. It was because he would not only make mistakes, but like that play is Marcus Siegel in a nutshell
Mhm.
is what you can have is you can't be indecisive. If you're gonna be wrong, I had a coach who used to say this, 40 years ago. Is like if you're gonna be wrong, you need to be wrong aggressively. You can't be tentative and be wrong.
Mm.
And that is make a decision and then just live with the consequences. But yeah, that is one position. We've got number one, we've got three guys back there that are kind of the same player. Um, Both Brown, Mustafa, and Siegel, they're all kind of that same guy. They're all aggressive downhill. Wrapping up is optional, and they struggle in coverage. So I think that is one place. I don't know if they decide to address that in the draft or if you bring in a veteran, which that's what I think I would do, is to kind of just bring somebody in and hope that guy in the hope that those one or two of those other three guys is able to take a step forward. Like if you want to talk about one bright spot in this game, it was D Winters. It
Mhm.
was like a light went off with him because he's fast and he's athletic, and it was clear early by the end of last season and coming into this season that before he got hurt in all the ways he could get hurt, he was one of the best cover linebackers in the league. But what we saw today was something that I had not really ever seen with him. This is the closest he's ever looked to Dre Greenlaw in terms of aggressiveness and playing downhill and playing both the run and the pass, which, if nothing else develops from this game, is that he's able to bottle that and be this guy coming into next season. That is a great positive because if he's that, then we are kind of back to where we were when we had Warner, Greenlaw, and Al-Shaair, because I think Tatum Bethune showed that he might not be a second linebacker, but if he's your third linebacker, you're in a pretty good spot. So that is moving forward. As long as if they're talking about Fred could have played next week or the week after, then I'm assuming that he'll be good
Yeah.
come March or July for a training camp. So it looks like if there's one group that is moving forward is going to be in a really good spot, and let's be honest, we don't have many of those on this roster right now. We've got a whole lot of positions that are kind of in flux. It looks like linebacker is one of them.
What did you think of the situation where Kyle was kinda going at Green? And I don't know if that's why Luter was in the game. The announcers kind of assumed that it was, but then he was in there again when they had a third down play, and I don't even know who that receiver was by Seattle, but he made a play. And the game was closer than 41 to 6, but it was just close to being out of hand already, but that they had an opportunity for a stop and maybe hold for a field goal, and he just gets a first down and it's Luter's in there. And I saw a tweet by Matt Barrows and he's like, I'm not quite sure why Luter was actually in on that play. So it seemed like there was some thought that Green was getting hooked out of the game or Shanahan's frustrated. In the presser, Shanahan just said it was an opportunity for him to coach, and he was just wanting to coach aggressively to get, I guess, to get his point across about whatever was going on with Green.
Yeah, I saw on Twitter there was speculation that he had blown. I can't, I couldn't see it on the television. I'll be able to see better later. That he had blown the coverage on that first down to Cup, and that's why he got yanked. But I don't know. So that I'm just going on that speculation. But yeah, that was very interesting that you know, Luter hasn't really got much run this year. And yeah, it was like those were some pretty big spots to be in, even though we were down, but still we were definitely still in the game at that point.
Yeah. So if you had any thoughts about, maybe when they were in the game, any strategy, any plays? The only one I think that is kind of a questionable play, and I guarantee you Shanahan wants this one back. They're at a 4th and 1, and they actually make the play. I think it was a pass to Jennings, and Seattle had called a timeout like at the last possible second before the ball was snapped. It was so loud in there that I don't think anybody heard that the whistles were blowing. I kind of heard it through the TV, but I was just trying to figure out where the whistle was coming from because I didn't see a flag of any sort. And then they have to redo the play, 4th and 1 again. They ran a play that I don't think I've ever seen them run, which was some sort of pitch to use check, and he could either, or it was like a handoff to use check, and he had the option to pitch it to CMC or the option to run it. And I was just like, like we've seen this defense now 2 out of the last 3 weeks. Nothing of that sort has worked against them. The only shot we maybe have is that Brock sneak that works, or you just got to line it up and make the pass again. So if there was a moment in the game where if they could have had a redo on it, I think that's the one. But I think that's the only one for the entire game because everything else was just so very specifically, intentionally for the Seahawks. But that one was kind of a weird one, and it's like one of the worst 4th down calls I've ever seen from Shanahan. I was just wondering what you thought about that.
What I thought is if that's the call in that position, we're cooked.
Yeah.
Because it felt like that is like the most desperate play call I think I've ever seen because you know I don't yeah, again, I'm not questioning his play calling, but I'm saying that is a pretty desperate that's a pretty desperate play call. Like it's like he doesn't think in any of this. None of the standard plays that I have on this sheet are giving me any kind. I don't have any confidence in any of these. So let's go to the fullback flea flicker. I don't know where that has to be on the back of the play sheet, doesn't it? It can't be. That can't be one of your standard plays.
You know what? I got a flashback. To the Philadelphia game when Brock got hurt. I was like, wait,
Oh no!
Brock's shoulders out. Like, what do we do? Like, what is this play? He can't throw. Like, that's like I got like a little bit of a deja vu, and I was like, okay, no, this is just a really bad play that they're running here. Yeah, I mean, there was a desperation there, and maybe Kyle was, showing that a little bit in the emotion of the game. Like maybe that was a little bit of a tell there that we don't have it tonight. But they were missing George Kittle tonight, and in a game like this against a team like this, that's a bigger loss than I think some folks may realize because he would have helped in the run game. He would have. Who do you want to throw 5 balls to Jake Tonjes and Luke Farrell, or do you want to throw those balls to George Kittle? I mean, I think that's an obvious one. Tonjes played okay until he didn't. He got stripped and he fumbled. And then the one pass that Brock was really depending on Luke Farrell to kind of be big a little bit, and Luke Farrell just ran right through as if he had like not play. I mean, I guess he hadn't. I don't even remember him being on the field before that, and that was just a really bad play on his part. It's going to show up on Brock's stat sheet, but if you could put interceptions on receivers, I would have put that one on him because
He looked like a guy who doesn't have the ball thrown to him very much because he did not react to it at all. He just kind of looked at it and hoped it was going to make it to him. He didn't make any sort of effort to go fight for that ball. But again, it just what I say, I chalk that up to just he's not somebody who gets a lot of balls thrown his way.
Yeah, it almost was like the old Ricky Waters for who for what kind of thing. I was like, is this dude thinking he's gonna get drilled? Like what? Like where were his eyes? Like what was he worried about? But
Yeah.
you know, Brock was running for his life again, and I'm not even I'm not sure what there was a fourth down sack that he took that was just Dominic Pooney just getting run right through. Um, I'm sure there were moments where maybe if he was like better than on time, he could have fit a ball in that he decided to hold on to. I was talking to my son JJ before the game, and I was like, they're cooked if Ricky Pierce have a good game today because he's the one guy that they would kind of depend on to give them some space down the field or find little pockets in the defense. Ricky had one play. Pretty Ricky did not make that one play, and I'm not sure that he got the ball thrown to him again. Like, I'm sure dealing with the knee thing, he probably was not at his best, of course, but the fact that he could not do anything was a tell again that just this was not a team that was really well suited to beat Seattle, and they need a burner. That is one thing that you know
Mm.
that they need somebody who can stretch that field. But I feel like we've been saying that for 3 years, and it,
Mhm.
it still hasn't been a priority. I know Cowing was like there was a possibility that he could play at some point this season, but he hasn't. What'd you think about uh Jordan James being available and getting some playing time? I was like, what happened to B Rob? Like they're just like, no, B Rob,
Mhm.
you just chill. You don't got to worry about this one. Let's
Just
the
don't
kids
even
some
worry
reps.
about it.
You're
Don't
getting
even worry
killed
about
on
it.
kickoffs, so we're gonna let you relax here.
Well, I know I I'm going to state for the record the one thing that I am not worried about this offseason is Brock Purdy. I am unlike a lot of people who want to throw out how much money he makes and yada yada. He didn't elevate the team. Well, I guess not. But I'm comfortable that as long as they put competent people around him, he can elevate this team. He is a very good football player. And that's all I can say about it. I think he's a very good football player. I don't want to get into the how good and is he elite and is he top five or like David Lombardi said he's the best quarterback in the league. I I don't know about any of that, but I am confident that he is a very good linebacker, and I mean quarterback. What am I talking about? Very good quarterback, and that's one position going into this offseason that I'm not worried about. I'm not
Yeah,
worried about Brock Purdy at all.
I mean,
Not that we can move off of him, even if he wasn't. But I don't even think that's even a thought. He is a very, very good quarterback.
I mean, the only thing I think I'd be worried about it a little bit is just, he did miss 8 games this year. He did get hurt. He came back though, he played off of that toe, and when he came back, they said that the toe was gonna affect him for the rest of the year. It just was not gonna go away. So hopefully he gets over that. But outside of these 2 Seattle games, like, he played really, really well at the end of the season. The Philadelphia game, he didn't play perfectly. He made some mistakes, but he brought them back when he needed to, which was we got to see the Brock Purdy that we really enjoy on that last drive. It just wasn't happening today. They couldn't do anything. Christian got a stinger. He came back in the game. He got tackled again and dangling his arm. He was so that they took him out of the game. Yeah, there what there. I don't even know if there was a single bright spot that you could even point to.
He had
Um,
like one and a half receivers.
yeah,
So, I mean, you have to grade that performance on a curve, I believe, because it just, he, like you said, he did not have a burner, and Juwan is. I've said it before. People are talking about paying Juwan. I think Juwan. We have seen what Juwan is, and Juwan is a very good. He is a wide receiver 3 on a very good team. you go beyond that, you start trying to pay him like he's something other than that. That's when you get in trouble. Because I just don't think he is that level of player. That's not to say he isn't a good player. It's just, when if we get to the conversation of rebuilding this wide receiver room, I don't think that you can pay the type of money that I think Juwan Jennings has earned and have him be the centerpiece of that rebuild. I want him to get paid, and if they decide to pay him, that would be great. I don't see it, but I I would hope that he would not take a discount to stay here. I think he fully, after he risked everything and came out here and played on a 1-year contract, I hope he goes somewhere and finds him some security. I would like to. That's the quandary, though, is that I want him to get paid and I want him to be financially secure, but I don't believe that this team should do that.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Trying to think, is there anything else to talk about before we talk about the rest of these playoffs? Because again, I like watching. Like, I'm not someone who watches Sunday Ticket every week. Like, there's a lot of games, and I keep up with
Mhm.
my fantasy team and I keep up with my Niners. But in the playoffs, I do like to watch playoff football because you're talking about the top teams and you're talking about the top coaches. And I like to measure what I see week to week from the Niners against these teams. And so Buffalo and Denver, I didn't get to watch that game because we were at an outing. So it was kind of like on a TV. So I got to see a little bit of the game, but not everything. And both teams are really, really good football teams. Whether but everything seems to be so close. Like there wasn't anything in that game that led me to believe that one team was clearly the better team or definitively the better team. So this is what the NFL wants, and I get it. It's why they're the king. These games are so competitive. So now we fast forward to tomorrow. You got the Pats and you got Houston, and it's funny, and I don't know if this is bad luck or good luck, but the second Bo Nix goes down, everybody jumped to Jarrett Stidham against the Patriots in the AFC Championship game, and I was like, not so sure that that is a done deal quite
Mm.
yet, because uh, I saw D'Amico's defense put a hurting on Old Man Rogers on Monday night. And I'm not saying that Drake May is going to be as immobile as Old Man Rogers. Absolutely not. Drake May is actually a mobile quarterback. But if you were going to have some notes on Drake's performance in the first game of his playoff career against San Diego, I think some of it was like he was not making necessarily the right decisions inside the pocket to give his receivers some time. Like he was him and Herbert kind of played very similarly in a way that I thought, but May's team is just a little bit better. He's taking sacks and he's throwing while he's getting hit, so that ball's kind of flying around. He does those things against Houston, and those could turn into turnovers and 6 points going the other way. I'm sure he's going to play better than he did. Some of that was just the first rookie playoff game struggles, but the Patriots and the Texans is a really interesting matchup. I feel like because of the name New England Patriots and because of the name Houston Texans, there's more people penciling in the Patriots just for that reason. As long as CJ Stroud doesn't screw this game up, I think the Texans are going to win, but I don't know how you saw that.
Yeah, that was my immediate first thought. I went the exact opposite way, is that my dark horse is a lot more is further into the light than it was an hour ago, because I think that that they are a special defense, and a Houston Texans Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl, that would be very interesting. Because both of those defenses are lights out, and they both have offensive questions. Like, that's one of the big questions going into this game, is that Nico Collins got a concussion last week, so he's out already. So they are going to be short their best playmaker. Um, but I don't put anything past that offense. I mean, that defense. And like you kind of outlined previously, New England's offense is not fully formed at this point. It is a lot of bubblegum and baling wire with what they've got going on there. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I think Houston wins that game, and then I think they've got a really good chance to go in there and beat the Broncos.
Yeah. I mean, I think you'd put money on either New England or Houston beating the Broncos at this point with, QB1 out for the year with a broken ankle. And then you got the Rams and the Bears. Now, I don't want I don't want to take anything away from the Bears. They were able to make a miraculous comeback against Green Bay, and some of this, at least I was frustrated watching that game. I'd already known what had happened, but just the fact that Jordan Love is firing this football downfield when they got a nice little lead there, and they just need to milk the clock. Some of that is, of course, on the offensive coordinator, the guy calling plays. I mean, but I do think that if both teams are playing at the top level of their capability, that the Rams are a little bit better than the Bears. My worry is that if I was a Rams fan, my worry would be just that the Bears are a little hungry, a little younger, and they're at home and it's going to be in the cold, and Stafford's a little older, probably not necessarily the easiest thing to play in the cold for him. So that would be my worry. I hope we see a really good version of the Rams, because again, I think the Rams and the Seahawks would be the best NFC championship game that we have left with the teams remaining. So and the Bears, the Bears can prove that they are what they were this year. Next year, they're just going to get better. They have a really good coach. Their quarterback is going to continue to get better. This is just what I want to see. I want to see, and some of it is because I feel like we were right with both of these teams. And so to see your vision of what really good football is in your division, and to see that play out, and that's the team that comes out of the NFC, that would be my choice, because then it tells me, well, damn, we were right there with them. We could have been there. That they're on the right track, right? So that's my wish. But if right now, and we can talk about this if we decide to come back next week, but who would you have? Would you have Seattle beating the Rams, or would you have the Rams winning that game?
I don't know yet. I want to see what the Rams look like
Because Seattle gets out of this game
tomorrow.
unscathed, right? Except
Yeah.
for Charbonneau, which I don't think he came back in the game, but they didn't really say what his injury was, so I wasn't sure what that. But other than that, they're going to be healthy, and they have an extra day. They played Saturday. The NFC Championship is on Sunday, so they're even going to have an extra day. So everything is playing out Seattle's way, schedule-wise, rest-wise, and everything. So if the Rams do come out of this, or even the Bears, they're going to have to hope that the health luck is going to be on their side too.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Did you want to circle back for both of the AFC and NFC title games Sunday evening and chit chat? And then we did the Super Bowl
Sure.
as well. So we might as well just run it back for these next 2 weeks. I know the Niners are not playing, but we can still talk about the Niners. There's going to be some fallout from this week that they're going to do their exit interviews and everything, and we can talk a lot about that next week as well. And
now we're on Sala watch.
We're on Sala watch. the Super Bowl's in Santa Clara, so it is, here. There will be
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of stuff going on, and my Santa Clara is like a hop, skip, and a jump from where I am. So I want to see what's
Mm-hmm.
going on in Santa Clara. Though I think everything is still happening in San Francisco. So I'm not even sure what's actually happening in Santa Clara. So we'll do all of those things for the next
Well,
next
to
week,
be
and then
honest, if I was planning an event, I would have my events in San Francisco too. If I had to choose, although to be fair, San Jose is not bad, but if I was coming from across country, I would want to be in the city.
how many stories during Super Bowl week are we going to get of these investigative journalists going to the power plant and trying to find out why the Niners are having so many
Jesus
soft
Christ!
tissue energies injuries?
Oh
You
my
know what's
goodness!
funny about that? The Niners have actually been practicing in Santa Clara for over 20 years, I think. Now, I don't know if that plant has been there the whole time. Like, I'm gonna assume it was, but because I remember going, like, my kids were tiny, and we were going out there, and they were getting autographs from Alex Smith and stuff. So that thing has been so
Mhm.
it would just be weird that now of all times is when all these injuries happen. So I don't know, but yeah, I imagine maybe we'll even get some investigative podcasts on the power plant. I mean, just call it that,
Mhm.
the power plant. That's a good name for a podcast. So,
Yeah.
all right. Unfortunately, this game there was not much. There wasn't anything really to dive deep into when it came to this game. So this pod's a little bit shorter, but I think we both kind of share the same sentiment, which is they took it as far as they could, and it gives us some interesting things to talk about during the offseason for what they need, what they can draft for, who they can pay. And one other thing is they cannot have another Brandon Ayuk situation like they did, kind of just hovering over this season. It's like, you know, the guys that you're going to pay, make sure that they're going to be happy to play for your team. And if not, then, maybe you choose somebody else, because that was something that they could not get away from all season long. And then, who would have been great out there today catching passes was BA. He was not
Right.
on the field.
And
you know,
and
he-
again, the thing that frustrates me so much, and so much frustrates me with Jed and Parag, but what I just think has been underreported and misunderstood is this was a decision that was made in July,
Mhm.
that we know now was made in July, which completely closed the door. What did I do? Sorry, which completely closed the door to him returning this season. Logically, there was no way that he was going to come out and play coming off that injury with no guaranteed money moving forward. So they effectively released him in July, which in retrospect, I just think was a bad business decision all the way around, because it closed the door to the possibility of him coming back, rehabbing his stock. And it could have been sold as a win-win to both of them. Look, you can go out and show that you're 100% healthy, and it puts us in a position where maybe, just maybe, we can get something for you.
Mhm.
And you've got the 1 year of guaranteed money there. So it's a contract that is still tradable, because theoretically you could still try to trade him, but I've heard it forwarded by company shill David Lombardi that, well, his without the guaranteed money, his cap number is just $1 million. So maybe they can just go ahead and keep him and make him honor his contract. Like you just said, there's no way in hell that BA is on this roster. The only question at this point is, do they wait until after June 1st to release him, or are they just going to bite the bullet and get him, out of their lives? Because like you say, there's no way in hell you could try to from a leverage standpoint, try to posture that way. But nobody, you don't even believe that, nobody wants to do this all over again ever. Like,
Yeah.
like you say, not only, like you said it great in that not only do they not want to go through this with BA, they don't want to go through this with anybody ever again. So
No.
yeah, this is it is a really, really unfortunate circumstance for the team. And yeah, it's going to be interesting, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about what we believe what shape this roster will take next season.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I appreciate everybody who was hanging out in the chat these last few weeks. We've had tons of people hanging out with us live online. So, of course, as always, want to give much love to our guy Shelvin, who was hanging out with us for most of the year on our lives. Also, Swoop 68 had maybe the best comment of all. Some days you're the windshield, some days you're the bug. On to the next season. And also BBQ's Beers, who said Pinero was the only. I guess that was the lone bright spot because George Kittle was wearing his jersey today at his pad watching the game. So yeah, Pinero was fantastic all year long. Though the kickoff, kicking off to that dude. Maybe we should have just booted that thing through the end zone to start the game. All right, that is it from here. Rod and I will be back next week after both championship games, and we'll have some follow-up from the Niners' end of their season and all their exit interviews and Kyle's and John's last press conferences and everything. And we'll go over the two games that the championship games next week, which I'm super interested in. I love playoff football. All right, so that is it for Rod. I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.